Paul Hart led Forest from mid-table oblivion in the Championship, turned them into a fantastic footballing side and got them to the Championship playoffs. Paul Hart's story of being Nottingham Forest manager, next. This video is brought to you in association with my good friends at Trent Bridge. Harty, great to see you again in your Luton Town tracksuit, which takes some getting used to, having seen you in the Forest one for so many years. Fantastic to see you.
Right. Thank you, Robin. It's good to see you.
How do you look back on your
This
time
video
at
is brought
Forest
to you in association with my friends at
those
Trent
years
Bridge.
And the job you did?
Well, I always look back on Nottingham Forest as a real pleasure. I enjoyed playing there. I enjoyed working with that wonderful manager. He employed me for a year when I got the sack at Chesterfield and looked after me. And then my third spell when I went as academy manager and then ultimately as manager for 7 years, I was in heaven probably. It's a wonderful football club, you know, and I was sad, obviously, to leave, but there you go.
Let's go back to kind of the beginning in terms of management and coaching and that sort of thing, which was as academy manager. When you came in from Leeds, how proud are you as you look back now on, well, the job you did at Leeds to start with all, you know, the Kuhls, the Viduka, you know, all sorts of players that you brought through. Not Viduka, but
you've got Australia on your mind.
I can't get it out of my head. You know what it's like? I just put Kuhl and Viduka together these days. But Kuhl and McPhail, who else was there? Hart and Kelly, Paul Robinson.
Yeah.
People like that. How proud are you of the job you did there to start with?
Well, very, you know, I credit an awful lot of the Leeds United stuff to Howard Wilkinson, who went in there in 88 and laid out a 10-year plan for the youth development program, and I came in 5 years into that plan, but fortunately he allowed me to develop, and because I'm me, I changed things, and we were, I say fortunate, but we won the FA Youth Cup in my first year there against Nottingham Forest, against Manchester United, and it's unbelievable. This, nobody at Manchester United ever talks about the class of '93. 1 year later, there was only Ryan Giggs meeting from the same team that was classed as the class of '92, and we beat them 4-2 over 2 legs. And fortunately, it was the first game that was televised by Sky, first FA Youth Cup game that was televised by Sky. And of course, being Manchester United and Leeds United, it was watched by an aggregate of 64,000 over 2 legs. Wow. It was amazing. And we won that, and that enabled us to, put in basic terms, to get into a different caliber of player, and talking to parents. They knew us, they'd watched it, they'd seen us, they saw we were doing things. And, you know, 4 years further on, that group, you know, Woodgate, Robinson, Kuhl, McPhail, that was for us, that was the end of the 10-year plan. But for us, that was the culmination of the work we'd done previously. And, you know, within that, slightly before that, we got Andy Gray, if you remember Andy Gray, who also played for Nottingham Forest, and Ian Hart. So we weren't completely redundant through the winning the FA Youth Cup the first time and winning the FA Youth Cup the second time against Crystal Palace in '97. You know, we had players there who went into the first team as well. But you probably think about this, you know, a bit special was that later group. And of course, I left there because mainly because I don't think there was much appreciation from the manager and his coaches of what they were, and they weren't going to develop, I think, as long as I was there. But fortunately, Nottingham Forest asked me to become academy manager there, and I that began another chapter, and one that was equally as enjoyable as the Leeds United.
And Paul, did you go from one straight into the other, or was there a?
Yes, I did.
You did, right.
Yeah, straight in. Straight after we won the FA Youth Cup with Leeds United, within weeks I was at Nottingham Forest.
And the kind of the style, the discipline, the rules that you brought with you, did you have those from day one at Leeds, and did you bring them in from day one at Forest as well?
Yeah, bearing in mind that most of the stuff that I took into Leeds, because that was my first job working with kids, were the basic things learned from Nottingham Forest under Brian Clough, where I was sort of lost on where to start, and I thought, well, hang on. I used to hear it on a daily basis. Say yes, please. No, thank you. Good morning. Don't pull shirts. Don't feign injury. Don't swear at referees. All that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, that might not be a bad place to start. So that's what I started with at Leeds United, and of course brought it in, or reinforced it at Nottingham Forest, and we and I was, I don't know what people say, but I love the kids. I wanted them to succeed. It was all about them getting in our first team, and I didn't give them an awful lot of leeway in terms of stuff. But I think you've probably seen some podcasts where they have a bit of fun with it now, and of course it was meant that way. It was meant to yes, everybody needs boundaries and structure, but we enjoyed playing football, and I think more so they enjoyed winning football matches.
You brought through at Forest the ones that are well known, the Dawsons, the Reeds, James Perch, Prutton, Williams, all sorts of players over time. Too many to mention. When you got there, did you think that you'd got a group that you could make, in some cases, Premier League players, or did you have to start from scratch again?
No, I did. I was very fortunate because a lot of Michael Dawson and you could probably say the whole of the Dawson family nearly were at Nottingham Forest. But Michael was probably, I don't know, under 13. JJ was, I don't know, under 14. They were in the system, and Andy Reid was already there. The toughest mentality I've ever worked with. He was a great lad, very driven, but they all had a common denominator. They were decent people, and you'll remember Keith Foy, and quite a lot of people that made their debuts and perhaps didn't go quite as far as the big names that we had. But no, we had them in the system, and then they just, what I developed with my coaches, especially Steve Wigley and Charlie, Andy Beasley, Nick Marshall was very important to me. I brought him in. He was the first one I signed. I asked to come in from Leeds United, and he came in. He just left university, and he was he was the back where he allowed me to get out with the players, morning, noon, and night, and extremely important in the administration that was taking place. The chart of equality had just been brought in, and we were moving forward in a very professional way at the time. Our education system was second to none. That developed under Jim King, and we from medical, we were the first club to appoint two lady physiotherapists. We were changing all the time and developing. Psychologists, amazingly, we were way ahead of what was going on at the time, and the players developed through it, and it was a fantastic place to be.
Before you became manager, you obviously saw some of the youngsters go through and become first team players under David Platt, who was the manager before you. How much pleasure did you take from those players getting through the system, if you like, and making their debuts?
Well, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, that's what when I coach and when my staff coach, we coach for the players, not for us. We want the players to go on and be the best that they can be, whether with us or with somebody else. And David recognised that and was not frightened of. I think Andy, JJ, and David were the ones that made the breakthrough, and he had no fear in putting them in.
How did that move for you then come up, that step from being the academy? I guess your title would have been academy manager at the time, would it, or centre of excellence?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, like to being the first team manager.
Yeah, well, David, if you remember, David went to manage England under 21s, I think, at the time, and they asked me to go in. It was simple as that. I was around. I was, maybe because they saw, we were not exactly. There was the cash element. We didn't have an awful lot of money as I took over, and my brief really was to reduce the wage bill by about 4 million and bring in money and stay competitive. It's not an easy task.
Yeah.
But we were looking at administration come just before Christmas of that first year, and that's the reason JJ went. He was the first to go, but we also had a lot of senior players that were not quite as comfortable with the way I wanted to play them as the kids were, because all the teams in the throughout the youth development from 11v11 were playing the same way, had the same set plays, the same vocabulary that they heard day in, day out, week in, week out. And it was, we were pushing our younger players on that could manage it into different age groups to be challenged. It was a very, very compelling environment. And, and of course, over the, so contracts were expiring, which allowed me to bring in a more youthful element. And we, of course, played the diamond, as you would remember. They were used to it, which enabled us to play the sort of football, with a couple of experienced players. I brought Des in. We had Ricky Simica, Wardy in goal, and two fullbacks that were lightning quick, Jim Brennan and Louis Matty. Yeah. And they were lightning, and they were vital to us in a diamond. And, certainly for that second year, it was. I think it was good to watch.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
As well as we got some results.
There is much more to come from Paul Hart in just a moment. Need to thank my sponsor of this video, which is Trent Bridge. One thing I miss about Nottingham, more than most things actually, is a day at the cricket at Trent Bridge. And there's plenty going on this summer, whether it's a test match for England against the world champions New Zealand, a 2020 international against India, or of course the Vitality Blast T20 games for Notts. You might want to witness the Trent Rockets in the immensely popular new competition, the 100, or just have a relaxing day of county championship action, or of course there's the final of the Royal London Cup. Whichever it is, there's a huge amount of high quality cricket to look forward to at Trent Bridge from April to September this year. Now, I know from talking to people involved at the club, they're expecting a number of sellout crowds and that tickets are already selling very quickly. So I'd strongly recommend that you plan your summer and secure your seats at the earliest opportunity. Now, the ticketing site is tickets.trentbridge.co.uk. You can simply type Trent Bridge tickets into your search engine. Alternatively, there's a link in the description of this video that will take you there directly. Of course, I'd like to thank those at Trent Bridge for their support of the channel.
How did you kind of decide, and maybe you didn't have a decision to make, I don't know, but there were some pretty experienced players around, Stern John and Andy Johnson, Alan Rogers, who've been around the club for a little while, and some of them been in the Premier League with the club as well. How did you decide which were going to go, or was it a decision taken out of your hands to kind of move players on, get wages off salaries off the wage bill?
Well, as I said, I realised I needed to reduce the wage bill, so that was an indicator of what was going to happen. And really, it was those players that the majority were coming out of contract, and they played through the first year, and but I suppose that made my decisions a little bit easier. But I was looking forward to doing what I was supposed to do, which was put our young players in the first team. I believed in them totally, and they were confident that they could do it.
Because understandably, people talk about the young players that came through at that point, but wasn't the greater skill the fact that you managed to weld those young players who were obviously going to be not devoted to you, but they obviously understood your ways and your what you wanted, with the experienced players who'd been around the block a bit and played for different managers, to be able to put them all together in one successful team. That was the real skill, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the amazing things, I brought Des Walker. He hadn't played for 12 months.
No.
But because I knew, Des made his debut with me when I was playing at Nottingham Forest, and I had absolute confidence. I just knew him. I knew that he would deliver, and he was wonderful for the kids, for the younger players, and wonderful for Michael Dawson to come into the team and play alongside him. Ricky Simica was a great lad, really good professional, who could play at centre back or as the number 4. So we played him as the number 4, and he was excellent. And he gave the backbone to our, Andy, to JJ, to JJ had gone. He went in the first year, but to Gareth, David Johnson looked after Marlon and allowed Marlon to develop, with that wonderful pace. Johnson was a teacher as well. It was a good environment.
How difficult? We'll come on to the second year, which was the year everybody talks about, if you like, the playoff year and the football that was played, the results you got. But how difficult was that first year to kind of get through and kind of manage people's expectations of a club that fairly recently had come out of the Premier League?
Yeah, well, I said right at the start that it was going to be a bit of a roller coaster. I never imagined it to be a giant roller coaster, but it was. And I remember speaking with Ian Bowyer and saying, you know, at the point where we got 50 points and felt we were safe, I think might have been at Sheffield Wednesday or something like that. And I'm sure a lot of people, and probably the owner at the time, didn't realise what the level of that we had to get to. I don't know, maybe he did. But I realised that it, you know, coming from the Premiership was and us not doing, we didn't rip it up.
No.
But I guess I knew that we wouldn't, because I wanted to enable new things to be done, you know, to be seen. And like you say, it doesn't happen overnight. And so some of the experienced players grasped it, and some didn't quite see it, you know. And I played different. Well, we played different systems that first year to enable us to, you know, to get through.
And were you kind of laying plans in that first year for that second year? Did you always have an eye on, you know, getting through the first year to have the success in the second?
Very definitely. I think I probably had to have some success, but as it turned out, the success was the way we played, and I think our supporters. I mean, I went back. So I went in as a manager, and I looked at what the club was about and how they like to see the game played, and you know, and I think they enjoyed the way we played. You know, we tried to get out from the back. We tried to, which was relatively new at the time. And you know, if you could see our goal, you could see Wardy chipping the ball to our fullbacks and things like that. You know, which was, and I remember a few times, you know, he was a great kicker of the ball, but he'd only ever gone straight down the middle, and we got him going right and left. And sometimes in the early part, he would whip it over people's heads for a throw-in. And I remember I said, we're not going to give up on this, because you know, I didn't want people to get disappointed. And I just said, do it again, make sure, you know, don't stop just because we make one mistake, you know. So, and people, our supporters, got used to it and enjoyed it. I think we were better than our position. I think we finished in 6th or something like that.
Yeah.
I think we were better than that. But and it still remains a very tough league, the Championship. But that was I think that was the best thing. We encouraged people to come and watch us, or to come and enjoy football again.
I was going to go right to the end of the season and that playoff game. How influential, looking back, and I know, given your ideologies and your beliefs, you won't criticise referees, but how important was how important was the sending off of Dawson in the first leg, given what happened in the second?
Absolutely massive. But I can see good things that came out of that second game. But Michael committed his first foul on 65 minutes and got sent off for it. And it was that. I just can't think of the referee's name, but he went to Saudi Arabia or something.
Yeah, Mark Clattenburg.
And he, you know, and I went to see him afterwards and say, would you review this and all that sort of stuff? And he said, nah. Anyway, it was a real disappointment. You know, we went 1-0 up and they got a penalty and all that sort of stuff. But interestingly enough, in the second game, we put in John Thompson, and John Thompson was brilliant that night, absolutely brilliant. But we changed. I don't know if you remember or noticed, but we changed the way we played, because I say to you of Warnock's expectations of us to be a diamond again. We played 4-4-2, and very direct. And I think we went 2-0 up.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. And we went 2-0 up, playing a totally different way, on the front foot, turning people and all that sort of stuff. So nobody could say we were, nobody could ever say we were one-trick ponies. And we, you know, we ran out a bit of steam in the second half. They were a very hard, experienced team. But in that, you know, Michael, we missed Michael, but Thompson was excellent. And I don't know, you know, it's probably hard to remember, but he was absolutely excellent. And he was one of the boys. I went over to Ireland to bring him in. You know, he played in midfield, he played at centre back, full back, you know, and he was. I was absolutely delighted for him and with him on that night. So you could say we didn't really miss Michael, but we know we did, if you know what I mean. But equally, in extra time, I remember I think we had numerous chances. I remember both fullbacks sliding in the box and you know, we were attacking and all that sort of stuff. So I could never ever be disappointed with that group of players.
How difficult was it always going to be, if you like, to bounce back from that? Well, the kind of agony of that.
Well, if you remember, we had to reduce the wage bill. That was what was told, and so we lost about 5 players.
Brennan went, didn't he? Huckabee.
Brennan, Matty Louis, Jean, Simica. You know, it was a shame, really. But there you go. It was, and of course, the first players I signed that summer were 2 players because we had a struggle over the Christmas period with injuries and everything. I said, we need a couple of extra players going in to protect us in that time, thinking I was going to keep everybody. So the first 2 players we signed were 2, what I call, it was Gunnarsson and
Danny Sonner.
Danny, who were great lads. But in my mind, at that point, and in the end, it looked like that they were the 2 signings that we were going to make. So it was, I wasn't disappointed with those 2 signings, but I was, obviously, we had disappointments to deal with in terms of going forward, you know. And then, you know, like you say, probably I don't want to say too much, but, you know, it was a disappointing time.
Yeah. Were you expecting that, or was that something that kind of came out of the blue a bit?
If truth be told, I was expecting it, but not because of financial reasons, because of other reasons. But there you go. I don't think I should enlighten.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's a bit sad, and I'm not, you know, and I'm not sad. I'm very proud of working for Nottingham Forest, and that remains. So, you know, there we go.
But was your tenureship effectively? Did you think, I'm going to find it really difficult this season? Any manager would find it really difficult this season from here on in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You moved on, and you've kind of, I mean, you picked your clubs, didn't you? I was looking up, there was Portsmouth, who were, you know, continuing.
Well, I went, within 3 weeks, I went to Barnsley as manager.
Yes. Was that too quick in hindsight?
Yeah, it was, massively. But I knew the people that were there at Barnsley, two friends, and yes, but you're absolutely right. It was too quick. I didn't realise how much it affected me at Nottingham Forest, and so it was tough. It was tough. It was tough for a long time, to be perfectly honest. But you know, it was inevitable, I suppose.
Still more to come from Paul Hart in just a moment. Need to thank members of Chippers Club for their continued support of the channel. This week's gold members are Tiny Media, Philip Sheldon, Chris Annable, Paul Harrison, Christian Tonnies, Perry, James Sorden, Thomas Newton, Mark German, Alan Francis, David Shelton, Mark Davis, Ez Chowdhury, Paul Metcalf, Tim Hayward, Richard Waterhouse and Ian Russell. If you want to sign up and get all the benefits of being a bronze, silver or particularly a gold member, the link is in the description below.
I mentioned Portsmouth, who obviously were in the Premier League at the time, and then QPR for 5 games, and Palace for a little bit when they were in administration as well. I mean, goodness me, you picked some difficult clubs to manage.
It was amazing. I went to Harry Redknapp asked me to go in, and he was brilliant. You know, and I really enjoyed Portsmouth, and you know, helped to develop some players there. Matt Ritchie came through with us. Marlon Pack, who is now currently playing at Cardiff. Joel Ward, who plays at Crystal Palace. And I committed fully. I bought a house down there, and kept the place up in Nottingham, obviously. But enjoyed it, and then became manager of Portsmouth. And me and Brian Clough helped them to stay up. And you know, when we took over from Tony Adams.
Not Brian Clough. You just said Brian Clough. Yourself and Brian Clough kept him up.
Sorry, not the guy. No, Brian Kidd. Brian Kidd, who's a great friend, and we had a nice time there. And then left there. They had money problems and all sorts of stuff. And then, as you said, QPR, 5 games. That was a peculiar place to work, and I managed to get out of there at the right time, I think, judging by that video that was.
Yes, because it was called the 5-year plan, was it, or something? The 4-year plan?
I don't know. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I think you're on right at the beginning.
Yeah, and then went to Crystal Palace in administration, and that was what a wonderful club that is. You know, I was employed by the administrators. We stayed up on the last game of the season at Sheffield Wednesday. The players were fantastic, very similar to Nottingham Forest in their humility and toughness, mental toughness. Some of those players I'm still friends with now. Sean Derry comes to mind, and look, I've been back there numerous of times, and the supporters were absolutely fantastic. So wonderful club, and very proud to have been associated with them.
Yeah. Final one I was going to wrap up with, obviously at Luton now, but Notts County kind of was a strange little spell, as well as kind of in charge of the academy, and you were caretaker boss for a bit.
Oh, I've been back at Notts County 3 times. I went there as a player coach, my first job after I broke my leg. I've been back another 2 times. Oh, Gordon Bennett, yeah.
You love it though, don't you? You love the game and the coaching, and you're still in it now.
I do. I consider myself to be very fortunate, and there again, some of the managers I've worked with think that I've been very fortunate also. but no, I've been so lucky, and then to come here with, you know, I was at Charlton as academy manager, and at Charlton Joe Gomez came through, countless others that have been, you know, I've been so. I don't. By the way, what you've got to understand is I don't do all that youth development stuff by myself. I have fantastic people that work with me, and you know, it's a huge team effort, and sometimes a lot of the credit is heaped on one person, you know, who leads it up and all that sort of stuff. But I've had wonderful help from people, and at Charlton, of course, I employed Nathan Jones, who's now the manager.
Your boss.
My boss as under 21 coach, and so he picked up. When we came in here, we were playing a diamond that he'd seen at work at Charlton, where I used to do CPD, and teach, show them in minute detail the defensive side and the attacking side, so that everybody, again, we played the same way, had the same instructions. Then he took it on when he came into Luton in 2016, and he had fantastic success here. And of course, he went to Stoke and took me in there. That wasn't quite as successful for us, but when he came back in here, I came in again with him, and it's he's very good. And of course, we've got Chris Cohen here now, who is at Nottingham Forest, who's absolutely brilliant. Alan Sheehan, who was at Notts County, is coming as a coach this season, who he's picking things up, and we've got a wonderful coaching team that is, if it's possible, we'll be here for a while. They're extremely good. The club's benefiting. The manager is excellent. He realizes that he can't do everything now, and so it's turning into a very, very strong and unified outfit.
Brilliant. There's some good people there, aren't there? Nathan, I've known for probably over 20 years, I think, and obviously Chris Cohen and Mick Harford as well, and yourself. It's full of good people.
Of course, Mick's who's been at Forest, absolutely.
Yeah. Archie, it's been great catching up. Lovely to see you again, and I really appreciate your time, and good luck with everything at Luton.
Thanks, Rob. Great to see you. Cobber.